All right, well, it's 7:05. We have a quorum. So good evening, everyone. We're going to open up the May 25th meeting of the Oakland Mills Village Board of Directors. And the first item of business is to approve the minutes from the May 11th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Ginny makes the motion. Lynn seconds. Is there any discussion of those minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0. Okay, next is we need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Ginny makes the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Warren seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving tonight's agenda? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0. Okay. Okay, next we have resident remarks. If we have any residents in the any residents in the audience who wish to make remarks, you have up to 3 minutes to make remarks. If you could use the hand raise feature in Zoom or turn on your video and wave your hand at me, I will call you in the order that I see you or the order that you use the hand raise feature. Okay, I see one. All right, it looks like we have one resident wishing to make remarks. Let me get my timer going here. Okay, Amy, you're on. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, let me know if you have any problems hearing me since we're having problems tonight. I have something that I want to read from my friend James Fagan. He's a member of Oakland Mills, a resident. He posted this on Facebook. He fixes up a lot of the local
cemeteries.
Amy, maybe try turning off your video so it's just audio.
Okay, so my friend James Fagan, who's a Oakland Mills resident, he fixes up cemeteries, local. He and his families. His family. What's the no?
I couldn't hear you. He fixes cemeteries. I'm telling everyone.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to do about the sound. So I'm just going to read what he said. I'll try to read slower. Maybe it will get through better. He said the Howard Hughes Corporation emailed today to inform me that they are in the process of transferring ownership of the Cook Cemetery to Howard County Parks and Rec. Why is this important? I can now more effectively lobby the county to designate Cook Cemetery as an historic site, fix the headstones, and clean up the area. The Cook Cemetery behind the Oakland Mills Village Center is the resting place for War of 1812 veteran George Cook, his wife, 2 daughters, grandchild, and beloved servant, Margaret Mace. Margaret served as a slave on the Cook plantation of Haywood, where the Oakland Mills Village Center is located, for more than 3 decades, 1820s to 1840s. She was a vital member of the household and served as a nurse, negotiator, school teacher, cook, etc. Based on our research, Mace's headstone is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, of an African American in Howard County. According to journals of the day, there are a minimum of 40 unmarked graves of African Americans buried between the cemetery and the ball fields at Oakland Mills High. So hopefully you got all that. I'm done.
Yes, we got that. Well, thanks for updating us, because honestly, I always wondered who owned the property and why whoever owned it wasn't maintained. So, and I know Rashida's here, and she and I exchanged some text messages about that over the weekend. So I'm actually glad James was able to solve that mystery through, I guess, the transfer of the property. And I mean, I'm hopeful that Recreation and Parks will, maybe be better stewards than what it had before. But it is, are you asking on his behalf that we consider reaching out to Recreation Parks about it, or is this more a for your information and we need to see what happens next?
This was a for your information, but he also has something else that he would like to do, which is the name of Robert Oliver Place. And I told him that was probably something that he should probably ask you about, not me. And I don't want to be like the go-between person, but he does have something on Tuesday nights. So I don't know if he'll be able to come and talk to you. If not, then I might help him out with that. But he's looking for support for that because of who Robert Oliver actually was. He was a slave owner and his plantation wasn't actually located in the Oakland Mills Village Center. So I think he's looking at perhaps changing it to Margaret Mace Place. So
Okay. Do you happen to know whether Robert Oliver Place is one of the names already being reviewed by the group that the county has appointed to review place names?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. It's something we can look into for sure. All right. Thanks, Amy. Oh, okay. Rashida has raised her hand for speak out. Let me
I'm sorry, John. I was in a place where I couldn't talk, and I kind of can talk now, but just bad reception. But
That's
James
okay.
and I had been in touch and having conversations around this too. So more than willing to provide that support. I told him I would work with him on this. And I sent a couple of emails today. So more than happy to update you when I get responses around this. And anyone else who could help, who'd like to provide support. But yeah, hope you heard that.
Yeah, I did. Yes, thank you. And not not to put Warren too much on the spot here, but now that we know that this is apparently being transferred to the county, it will actually fall under, well, the cemetery itself will fall under public space. So I don't know whether this is anything you've already discussed in the public space committee or might want to start discussing as an effort to improve the situation there. I mean, I certainly think it's in need of improvement. I think the potential renaming of Robert Oliver Place is a whole other, related because of the proximity of the cemetery to Robert Oliver Place, but probably a whole other effort with I mean, that probably goes beyond the county, because that would involve the postal service and the businesses in our village center changing addresses and things like that. But I'm actually curious just initially to learn whether that's one of the names that's already being reviewed by the county because of its association with a slaveholder.
So, yeah, this is all pretty much new to me. So I'm new to this conversation. So
Yeah, I
thanks for
actually
letting us know about it.
I had no idea who Robert Oliver was until just now. I had no idea where that name came from. I knew all about the Cook Cemetery because I've gone there to look at it and try to do what I could to just pick up some trash or something, but I had no idea about Robert Oliver. All right, so Amy and Rashida and James, I mean, as residents, if you're willing to see what you can learn and report back to us a little bit, I'd appreciate that. I think Sandy, since we are aware that the county is, like I said, doing this, I'm not completely familiar, but I know they are doing a review of some place names. Maybe we can reach out just to see if Robert Oliver Place is already on that list, because if it is, then we might already be a little bit ahead of where we think we are. If it isn't, maybe we need to make them aware that it probably should be.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Rashida. Anyone else for speak out? Hi, Bill. All right, then I am going to, whoops, I'm getting alerts here. I'm going to move into new business, and the first item we have on new business, and thank you, Rebecca, because I meant to do that and I totally forgot. So I'm glad you sent Sandy the email. The first item I have for new business is obviously right now, we have a board of 6 people. When we should have a board of 7, there are 7 slots on the Oakland Mills Village Board. So of course, it's the board's right and potentially the board's responsibility to fill any vacant seats on the board. And obviously, after the last election being non-contested and not even having 7 people, we do have the vacant seat. So we should begin discussions of that. I think everyone here is probably familiar with the process that we've used to fill vacant board seats in at least the recent past, going back to all the 8 years or so that I've been on the village board. And basically that process has been that Sandy puts out a communication to the community, notifying them that the board is seeking to fill its vacant seat. We give a certain amount of period, a certain time period for people who are otherwise qualified to serve on the board to submit statements of interest. If we get multiple statements of interest, we convene a small subcommittee to do initial interview with the candidates and make recommendations of a couple of candidates to bring before the full board. And then the full board usually schedules a session about a half hour before the start of the regular board meeting business, or sometimes we just do a separate session on a separate night, depending on availability, to meet with and interview the 2 finalists for the board seat. And then during a board meeting, we do a secret ballot election of the new board member, or if we only have one candidate, we do a secret ballot, just straight yes or no, to appoint the new board member. So that's the process we've used in the past. It's new business, so we should discuss tonight, think about it, bring back as old business at our next meeting, so that we can have a clear path forward, so that Sandy, as well as the member of the boards, know what the next steps are. So that was a very, very long introduction to a very, very short blurb in the new business, but I just want to lay out what we've done in the past, just to get the discussion started. And now I'll open it up for discussion among the board members. Bill.
Yes, I'm for doing the same process as we did last time, and I'd volunteer to be on the subcommittee as necessary to screen multiple candidates.
All right, thank you, Bill. Other thoughts? Lynn?
Unmute, yeah.
There you go.
I agree with Bill, and I'll be on the committee as well if that's necessary.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts on the vacancy? All right, barring any other thoughts, Sandy, for the agenda at the next board meeting, let's bring the vacant board seat back as old business, and let's in the old business on the agenda, just so we don't have to recap everything, let's just say vacant board seat slash board vote to follow recent past practice, so something along those lines, so that we can just dispatch with this quickly and get the process going.
Okay. Okay.
All right, very good. All right. Our next item of new business is the county executive is once again looking for OMCA's priority list submission. We actually were asked for that at the very beginning of the month before the new board had even convened, and we said, well, we have to get together as a board and talk about this a little bit before we can send a list forward. So again, this is new business. We don't have to make final decisions tonight. However, Sandy did send the past priority list around along with recent county responses to the priority list. And hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at that. Actually, I don't see it. It's in a separate email. I don't see it in tonight's board packet, but hopefully everyone has had a chance to look that over. I did receive one suggestion that since we've in the past submitted a fairly large list and we don't necessarily get very far with most, if any, of the items on that list, maybe we should really, pare it down to the very, very top priorities. Like, never mind short-term, medium-term, long-term. What does Oakland Mills expect to get done. And some of the suggestions I've heard are, start the planning process for the Verona property, since the 10-year financing is basically coming up to its 10-year point in 2023, where the Housing Commission can do something about that. Another suggestion I've heard, and also that I have, is to keep the deferred maintenance on the schools a top priority. Another one is the streetscape and the safety improvements along Stevens Forest Road and around the village center. So that's one idea, is to maybe not necessarily get rid of the rest, but for the list of priorities, truly make it like top priorities, pare it down, and then sort of deal with the rest at the staff level, as we exchange inquiries and letters with staff level people or with Council Member Jones's staff. But we have 20 minutes to discuss. So, I'm very interested in what everyone else has to say as we work toward the latest version of the priority list. Lynn?
Yeah, I looked over the list that we had from 2019 and the one we had from 2020. And I'm guessing that probably some of the items were there in 2018, 2017, some of them just keep coming back. But I also was looking at the list that Sandy sent, which were the things that we've actually offered testimony on in the past year. And I think those would be a good place to start. That obviously if they're important enough to us that we had testimony about it, that's a good beginning for our top priorities.
So just as a refresher, the things we've delivered testimony on in the past year are deferred maintenance at Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High, streetscape and street safety on Stevens Forest Road from Santiago to Whiteacre, median strip maintenance, Blandair and Oakland Mills Village Center signage, and complete streets.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Did
Yes.
I unmute? Okay, it's not too windy.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. I don't have.
No. The beautiful ocean breeze is not distracting us, Rebecca.
It's there's no Wi-Fi inside the rooms. It's only outside, so I have to sit outside.
That's
Not
okay. I'm sorry about that.
make it terrible. I know it's terrible. I don't know if Warren wants to go into more detail, but at our last public space meeting, I had looked. One of the things that used to be on our priority list was the asking for a leaf sweeper, or a leaf grabber, but that didn't seem to be on it last time. I don't know if we decided to take it off, but there seemed to be a lot of support wanting that back on. And if Warren wants to go into more detail, he'd probably say it more.
That always was in,
It's been in our
that always
budget.
is in our testimony, our
Yeah.
budget testimony. Not that they don't have to match up more, but it's not been taken away from that ever.
Yeah, has it been in our priority list, or has it
I
just been in our
don't think
budget
we
list?
did. I think it's just been in our budget.
See, it's kind of an interesting process, because Oakland Mills is one of the villages that always turns up for the county executive's budget hearings. And many of the villages don't, but I think they also ask all the villages for the priority list. So, in some cases we're repeating things, and in other cases it appears in one place, but it doesn't appear in the other place. I'm not, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what happens to the priority list, because the only time we get an update is when we ask for an update on our priority list.
Very true.
But I would also say that I believe when we say median strip maintenance, that was actually part of the median strip maintenance issue, because one of the areas where we've had a lot of concerns are with the leaves that just pile up in the median strips, because the mowing contract CA has with the county basically it ends before the leaves really start falling. So a lot of those leaves get get blown into the roadway and end up on the median, or they just fall from the trees in the median and stay there all the time. And then they cause issues with the medians themselves. And it also spills out over into the travel lanes and causes issues, along the roads that have medians. So I do believe that part of our median strip maintenance ask was that they basically come through and vacuum leaves off the streets and off the median so they don't cause other problems throughout the village with drainage and everything.
So it could go under that same, area.
Yeah, I think the context that we were talking about it, and Warren can correct me, was basically with respect to the gumballs and the leaves in both clogging the storm drains and defiling the bike lanes, because the Public Space Committee has already been out once for special cleanup in the fall and is planning another one just because the bike lanes get unusable when they're covered in gumballs.
Maybe we should make it median strip and bike lane maintenance. I mean, basically the idea is
Yes.
to get all the gunk off of the roadways so that people can use them safely. Would that basically summarize it?
Yes, that
Because-
would be
because-
it.
Yeah, because to me, the leaf bag thing has sometimes been an even bigger issue, where I know some people want, like what some other jurisdictions do, where basically instead of putting your yard waste out to the curb, you basically rake all your leaves out into the street and the truck comes in and just vacuums them up. That's a little different than what we're talking about when it comes to the medians and the bike lanes and vacuuming those.
Yep, it can be.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, Jonathan?
Ginny?
Actually, when we testified in the past, it was also saying that perhaps the county could use Oakland Mills as a pilot to see how it works. Montgomery's been doing what you're talking about for a long, long time. We've told that to county executives, but it really should be both, but it should be a pilot just in Oakland Mills, or maybe two areas just to see how it works. If it'd be more limiting and less costly. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think we could state it that way. I mean, if, when we list the priorities, we could say, try it as a pilot program.
I'm writing on
I
this
like
down.
that.
Yeah.
We are planning to do a cleanup for the bike lanes in June. So, I mean, this is a recurring problem, the gumballs and the leaves, it's all year round. And it seems like the cleanup doesn't really help. The cleanup helps when we go out and do it, but I'd really like to have the county more involved in that instead of just giving us vests to clean up with. So.
Lynn?
Just a quick question about the gumballs. Do the leaf pickup trucks, do they actually work with the gumballs? Is that something, I seem to remember something about that is not really effective. But that said, I support the leaf pickup machine. I think it's ridiculous that we are not doing that when other jurisdictions and counties much less, with much smaller budgets than ours seem to find a way to do it. But I was also going to mention that I think one of the issues with the medians is also, just as with the area around the cul-de-sac circles, is that the curbs are cracked, and some of them are just cracking right off. And it really, I know the intersection of 175 with Underhill Road, the median strip there looks really terrible.
That's a state one, but it does look terrible.
Yeah.
But they're all over the place. I mean, they're the crack curbing. So I think that's something we want to put in as well.
I know on my cul-de-sac island right here, part of the curb has sunk so far that it's barely above street level, in addition to being cracked.
In addition to the curbs by the sidewalks by the houses, which are also cracked.
Well, and the county really isn't mowing the cul-de-sacs, right? At least
No, residents are responsible for the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, however, the county is responsible for the trees in the cul-de-sac.
Trees.
Yes.
Dead trees.
And replanting them. And we have many, many cul-de-sacs that are just nothing. It's just earth.
So my cul-de-sac has been on the list for replanting for about 18 years.
Yeah, right.
I'm not kidding, because I'm the one who contacted the county about the evergreens that were dying, and they took them down and they said, okay, you're going to be on the list for replanting. I said, great. I never thought 18 years later that it would still be on the list for replanting.
Yeah, but when the cement cracks around that, that's the county's responsibility, right? Around
Yes.
Yeah, lots of
Yes.
luck.
Lots of luck.
Bill?
Two comments. I think the number one priority should be the two schools, the middle school and the high school. And then the 3 or 4 other things we've testified, there might be some constructive grouping under a safety and maintenance heading that would hit 2 or 3 of the things we've testified for. Just an idea. And then this is a make work for Warren, unfortunately, Warren. One thought is that with the Public Space Committee, walk sidewalks, take photographs of uneven concrete where it's a safety hazard walking on the sidewalk, and get those redone. There are a few that have recently been redone here in Oakland Mills. And a concern I have is I see many people now walking in the streets in Oakland Mills instead of the sidewalks. And if and when I am not busy at the time, I'll pull over and ask people, are there problems with the sidewalks? Because if there are, we can get them fixed. And if not, then technically, legally, pedestrians are supposed to be on the sidewalk, okay? Because that's a safety issue. And I haven't had time to do that yet, but that's in the back of my mind. But I've taken walks on sidewalks and there's a lot of uneven joints. And I thought, wow, I understand why people are in the street. So that might be something you put in your agenda with the public space and, for future consideration as a project potentially.
So Bill, one thing I learned about the sidewalks, because the county owns them, with some exceptions, it's actually the maintenance and even repair of the sidewalks are actually the responsibility of the adjacent property owner.
Right.
So if the sidewalk is just aging, or whatever, it's actually the resident's responsibility or the business's responsibility, with a couple of exceptions. I actually looked into this because we're about to have a bunch of concrete work done at my house, and we have a cracked slab of sidewalk in front of the house. If the county or one of the utilities has to destroy a sidewalk to do work, like you see, a lot of times you'll see those temporary asphalt patches that say BGE. Then the utility or the county, if it's water, it's the county are responsible for the sidewalk repair. Or I believe if one of the county's street trees cracks or heaves the sidewalk, then the county is responsible. So we may also, the reason I'm saying all this is we may also have to distinguish like which of the issues are actually the county's issues versus issues really the residents should be taken care of. Because I don't necessarily want to be the cause of a resident getting a $10,000 bill to replace the whole county sidewalk in front of their house unless it's really a danger.
I've never heard of that.
No, I hadn't. That's interesting. I know often the sidewalks are buckle because of most likely tree roots, because it's right by trees usually, and street trees, not the tree between the curb and the sidewalk. So that's interesting that the resident is responsible for the sidewalk. I know when I redid my driveway, 1998, I think it was, that I had to pour a slab on the county property between my property line and the curb. That had to be a solid concrete slab, and it's on county land. I could put the paver blocks on my driveway. So in that time, yes, I had to pay the price for concrete that was on county property, but it was part of my driveway, not sidewalk.
I have to agree with, I agree with Jonathan. I had the same experiences. This year we had BGE come and destroy our sidewalk, and they replaced it. And many years ago, they came through, and the county came through and identified like 3 sections that our street trees had destroyed, and the county replaced those, but there was one that was cracked. That was my responsibility. So I had to take care of that, and that came out of my pocket. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have the same situation in front of my house where the one is going to be my responsibility if I choose if I choose to do something about it.
So if
But
someone got hurt, the county can have them sue you?
so that's where it's very unclear to me. And I was actually just trying to go to the Public Works website and use the sidewalk maintenance link where I got all this information a couple of months ago. Except now when I click the link, it says I'm not auzed to view the page anymore. So I can't I can't
You've
bring the
used it
page up
too
to show
much.
all of you.
You're a troublemaker.
You used up your allocated
They just
reporting rights.
Updated the, yeah, they just updated or changed or whatever.
The county
the
website.
county website.
Yeah.
Everything's new. Actually, I like it better, but different for.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not saying we should not look into this, but you know, I think before we put this on like a county priority list, we should do our homework, because we could make this a county priority and the county could say, yeah, we'll take care of that, because it turns out there's only like 2 slabs of sidewalk that the county's, you know, needs to take care of. So that's a cheap way of shutting Oakland Mills up. So I think it's worth more exploration. However, one of the things I have noticed is the newer BGE cuts are getting fixed pretty quickly. Like along Stevens Forest Road, they've been doing them over the past couple of weeks. There are some much older BGE cuts, and you can tell because the asphalt is gray and it's sunk. And I think those have been forgotten. So if we could identify those, that should not be the residents' responsibility. That should be for the utility to repair, and it should be brought back up to the concrete standard. I've seen them around, and I can start, you know, taking pictures and noting the addresses, but it's one area where I've noticed it's especially bad, and maybe it's that way because no one really lives there and uses the sidewalk much, is at the very bottom of Stevens Forest Road on the southbound side, as you approach the crosswalk to get across Broken Land. That's a mess, and a lot of that is that BGE. I don't even know if you can still read the BGE spray paint on them, but it was, you know, the BGE asphalt temporary fills that never got fixed. But I've seen them other places as well. That was quite a diversion into the the intricacies of sidewalk repair and maintenance in Howard County. I wish I could find it's not redirecting me to the new page. It's just saying access denied. But if I can get the page to load, I'll send it to everyone after the meeting. Because like I said, I was just on there a couple of weeks ago when we were planning the concrete project here to figure out whether I should be paying for this or the county should be paying for this.
Okay, interesting.
All right, other items while we have this under new business. Otherwise, what we can do is Sandy and I can work on writing up a summary of what we've discussed so that we can bring it back for old business to determine whether that's our final list or whether, you know, we think of other things over the next couple of weeks that we feel should be on there. Bill, I do like your idea of potentially grouping. If we were going to group, I would say that maybe probably the deferred maintenance at the schools is a standalone, because that's the school system. I would, even though some of the several of these things deal with roads, I would still argue that the streetscape and street safety on Stevens Forest should be separate, only because of the way the streetscape projects get funded and the fact that we have half a project already completed. And then maybe things like the median strip / bike lanes / leaf back, you know, would fall under one big category. And maybe even, I don't know, this might be taking it too far, but I mean, the argument could be made that even, you know, for something like complete streets, right? If you're really going to achieve complete streets, then you can't just slap paint on things and then not maintain them. You need to maintain them so that, you know, your complete streets progress is actually useful to people who want it, you know, because painting some bike lanes along the side of the road and let them fill up with gumballs is not useful to anything other than achieving some, target measure for the county of miles of bike lane.
Yeah, Jonathan, could somebody follow up and find out an answer to Lynn's question about whether the leaf machines can in fact pick up gumballs? Because that's I know it's a major problem along Mellenbrook area is one example.
Yeah, well, actually, my thought on that is, I mean, we can, but my thought on that is, why should we do the homework? I mean, I think our priority should just be find a way to clean it up. But
Yeah.
we don't, I think we can remain agnostic on how. If you have to get a stronger leaf vac or something else,
Good point.
just do that.
Yeah, okay, good point. I know the sweepers, I think, can't, but I would hope
Yeah.
the machines could do everything.
Yeah, the gumballs definitely kill the sweepers. I mean, they literally damage them.
Right. Right.
I think those sweepers are pretty much worthless. And by the time we know about it or we get the word out, people haven't known about it and cars are in the street. So I've watched it and it doesn't look like it makes much of a difference.
Could
So
we
in
trade?
Thunder Hill, how can they even do anything since we have gumballs throughout our
Right,
roads?
right.
I don't know how they can even clean anything.
They don't.
Hey, guys, could we consider a trade where we use Oakland Mills as a pilot with the leaf machines and tell them to take their sweepers elsewhere?
Absolutely.
And save that money, use that money to do the leaf machines.
And then they can come back and compare
Yeah.
what it looks like without street sweepers
And
with
we'll be
vacuums.
Cleaner, much cleaner and much more
Yeah.
effective. And it's a trade deal. It's
Yeah.
a pilot and Oakland Mills thought of it. So why not reward us?
I like that.
I like it too.
All right.
Okay, we got 2 votes for it, 3 votes, okay. Yeah, I mean, you say you're saving money, although the contract has probably been paid for the next 500 years to sweep streets ineffectively, but anyway.
Okay, we killed that topic.
All right. Anything else on that new business item?
No, sweep it away.
All right, we're sweeping it away. Let's move on to old business, cul-de-sac beautification. Rebecca had asked for a quick item on that, and unfortunately, it looks like her connection picked the perfect time to freeze. Rebecca, if you can hear us, we can tell your
Can
video.
you hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I had to step inside my room for some water. Yeah, I wanted to bring this back up because I missed the last meeting. And it's really important to me. I had brought it up a couple years ago and then we didn't do it last year. But so I've been working a lot with the Yards Alive group, which I'll talk about later. Hopefully I have to go in a little bit. But the money for cul-de-sac beautification, we didn't put any parameters on it requiring or not allowing people to plant invasives. And I just realized this year that my cul-de-sac is actually filled with invasives. So I'm going to be pulling them up on my own time to plant something not, and I've already applied for the money and that's great. But it's ridiculous if we give people this money and then they can plant these invasives that then CA and Howard County have to spend all this time and money eradicating from open space. So I totally get it, not telling people they can only plant natives. I am totally fine with like the plants that were sold at the plant sale that are annuals that are just pretty for a little while and are gonna die. But I am not fine letting people go out and buy. I mean, there's so many. My neighbors just put in a ton of bushes that they were all excited about getting at Home Depot, and they're all tier 1 invasives. So this is something that is really important to me. If we're giving people money to plant things, then we really need to have parameters on using that money responsibly. So that's my piece, that I think we need to have those rules along with that money.
I'm all for it. What I'm just not sure of is how we enforce it. Because I mean, Sandy, what's the process for reimbursing people? Do they just bring in a receipt, or how do we do it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they have to reserve it. They, basically say what they want to get. They want to add something this year to what's already there. Have to have a receipt. We don't give them money in advance. And yeah, I don't know how we'd enforce it. And I think that maybe if we ever wanted to do something like that, or we'd probably maybe need to do some education ahead of time, because people wouldn't know what not to plan or what to plan or where to go. And some Lynn can speak to hers. I mean, it's not always a plant structure that they're putting in. Some have purchased a bench or a seating area or some permeable pavers so they could gather. So people have had plans over the years, and each cul-de-sac kind of takes on its own.
Yeah, but well, let's not go out of scope, because a bench isn't going to spread. Let's just stick to the people
Right, but we have
getting
to, if we're gonna
plants.
say
But
one thing, we need to know in the future what we're not gonna pay for, or what's within the money.
Well, so I think that was the biggest concern when I brought it up 2 years ago, was how to enforce. And I've given a lot of thought about it, and we could either go one of two ways. We can just say, you can't do these, you can't plant these plants, and just put it on, trust people that, having just said that, they're going to figure out if they are or not. The other is we can have a list. I mean, it's really easy to come up with a list of things that we don't want them to plant. We don't have to do it. I mean, there's organizations like Bee City and University of Maryland. There's lists everywhere that we can just pick one of those lists that seems reasonable and give it to people when they say they want the money, and they just have to sign and say, okay, I won't plant these ones.
yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I think that's perfectly reasonable. My only concern is that, this will never be perfect. Like I wouldn't want, Sandy looking at receipts from Home Depot and trying to align SKU numbers and product codes with the list. So I think it is still a trust system. So we're basically saying prohibit, but the reality is we're strongly discouraging, because it'll be very difficult for us to enforce it unless we get a receipt that clearly says, name your plant, and it's quite obvious that's what they bought. That's my only concern, is that we can't how complex or difficult then we make it. I think we should do all we can to prevent it. Absolutely.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Sandy when she sent out the announcement this year, she said, that she asked that people submit, I remember it, I was just looking at it the other day, submit what their plan is for how they're going to use the money. And then it said that we strongly discourage planting any plants that are invasive. So maybe a way to go as a first step is to have a link right there, because as Rebecca said, the information about what's invasive and what isn't is readily available.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we have a link there, and again, encourage people do not use this money to plant invasives. In which case, oh good, yeah, there it is. And in which case, what will happen, or what could happen, is people will say, well, we want the $75 and we're going to pay, because it's the landscape plan. We want to do pavers, we want to refresh the mulch, we want to plant a dogwood tree, whatever. And, but then it does have to be trust. We can't then say that after you've used your $75 for the things you've listed, where somebody is going to walk out, and as they do in all of the cul-de-sac, some neighbor is going to go and say, oh, I've got these really great whatevers, and I'm going to plant them in the cul-de-sac too. I mean, there's no one, it's a neighborhood volunteer thing. There's no one sort of in charge of a cul-de-sac. So that makes it a little bit difficult, but I think we certainly can be more specific and more stronger, and say we discourage, not we advise you to avoid, but maybe next year really say I mean, this has already gone out, so we can't kind of change the rules in midstream, but we can say we strongly discourage the use of invasive species, and here's a list here.
I mean, I think we can even go, honestly, I think we can even go stronger than that. I think we can flat out say that we will not we will not reimburse, purchases of invasive species. And hopefully that will be enough for people not to do it. All I'm concerned with is, how well we're able to police that. And I think if it's obvious, then obviously we will say no to people if they turn in a receipt that says,
Bamboo.
English ivy and bamboo,
Right.
all over the cul-de-sac circle. But if we can't tell, I think it still has to be a trust system. But I think we can, I mean, I don't think we have to strongly discourage. I think we can say that, Oakland Mills Community Association will not reimburse for these things. Unfortunately, there might be times that we don't know, but I think we should still make it clear that this is not something we want to be in the practice of doing.
I think that's
I should also note, the Yards Alive group that I'm working with is also through B City and a bunch of other folks. We're coming up with some plans for cul-de-sacs. We had kind of talked about it months ago, but we're coming up with some plans. It doesn't mean that everybody has to follow them, but we could send that out with the money too. Here are some suggested ideas of some things that you might want to consider. Also, I can pretty confidently volunteer the Yards Alive committee to, if somebody has to submit plans of what they want to do in the cul-de-sac, we could pass those on to the Yards Alive folks and kind of review the plant list for Sandy, because I know she, doesn't need to have that task. If you think that would be useful.
Yeah.
By the way, if you need a cul-de-sac for a pilot, I volunteer mine.
Yeah, if you don't have anything there, man, you have a great blank slate.
We have one tree left on the edge and grass.
We have plenty of volunteers, of volunteer yards, believe me.
I feel like the cat might be out of the bag for this year. I might to go back to the people that already said they, or is this for planning for the future?
Well, I don't think at this point we can retract what we put out because people may have already spent the money and we are discouraging this. But I think for the future, we should just say, no, Oakland Mills will not pay for these.
Well, even though some people have done it already, could we say it for going forward? Any funds that haven't been claimed yet?
Yeah, we've claimed all of them, but I can.
Oh,
Yeah,
all of them already?
They're right on it.
Oh yeah, it goes
All right.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of them, actually, this year, there's people that wanted just mulch because in other years they've done other plantings and then they want to put mulch down, and that's very expensive. So they're using it to help purchase that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I can send out a reminder. I know what the streets are and who the contact people were. So, I can send out a general, if you have not already, our board has discussed this and, something like that.
I don't know if it would be too far reaching to direct them. I know a lot of people on the Yards Alive committee said they would be happy to help plan. So maybe if we could reach out to them or they could reach out to us, either way.
A lot of the streets that have reserved already have plans that they do something each year. So it could be like, if you have not already, I don't want to step on their creative toes either, or make them feel bad because they're loving their marigolds and dusty roses in their cul-de-sac.
No, and somebody, like Lynn, who has her cul-de-sac under
Right.
control and does.
But
her
if
thing.
anyone, I could say, if you've reserved funds and would like to have some neighbors help you decide what, would be best, let us know.
Yeah, that's I guess
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
leaning towards.
Yeah, I'd like to see it as kind of a friendly, if you're wondering
Yeah.
what to do, not as a, we all got together last night and we've decided these are the rules now,
So I can write up something like that, because some people might say, oh, great, we don't really know what to do. And then that's a great one that they'll contact us. I'll get to Rebecca and her committee can, be a point of contact.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
All right. Moving right along. Oh, it's my turn, board chair report. I've lost I've lost my my concentration here.
Put on a
Oh,
little
yes.
video hat or something that,
Yeah, exactly. I need that loading thing above my head.
Yeah.
It came up on me. I thought we had another new business item and I still had time. Board chair report. So a couple of things. First, the hill at the mill. I basically hit the end of my patience earlier today, and after talking to Warren, because Warren will brief us on this, but in addition to the University of Maryland Extension Watershed Stewards Academy being interested in the hill, so is the Public Space Committee. So Warren and I had a phone call, and I told Warren, where things were with the school system, and then after I hung up with Warren, I said, you know what? Enough is enough. So I texted a member of the Board of Education, Jolene Mosley, who I am also personally friends with, as a personal text, not through her school account, and said, hey, is this the type of issue that you could maybe get involved in and help us out more formally as a member of the Board of Education? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Email me the information, and I'll put something together, and I will call the right school system officials and we'll get going on this. So I put together a history of correspondence among Sandy, myself, Dr. Fink, officials from the school system grounds going back to September of 2017 on that hill. And I packaged all those up and sent them to Jolene, with the most recent communication being my attempt to reach grounds directly, to which I hadn't received a reply in over a week. Since we last met. So she made a call to the right official with the school system, talked him through this, then sent me an email along with Dr. Fink and Mr. Cosentino at the high school and middle school, basically summarizing what they talked about, put all of the email history that I gave her in a Word document so he had it for his records. And basically through their conversation, long story short, too late, it sounds like all we're basically going to need to do is fill out some form, and then we can start working with the school system on the hill. So I've already sent an email to Megan Cole with the Watershed Steward saying it sounds like we're back on again. I've already had 2 conversations with Warren today about, potentially involving the board via the Public Space Committee, and the community via the Public Space Committee, as well as Bob Marietta for his watershed expertise. And I'm hoping that we are now clearing a path toward hopefully developing a plan over the summer and then, executing with some work and planting in the fall. My other hope, because I talked to Megan at the plant sale Saturday, is that we can turn this into a combination of a kind of a community volunteer effort through our community, hopefully, coordinated through our board and through the Public Space Committee, as well as hopefully a community service project for students at the high school, since they need a certain number of service hours for their graduation requirements. So all of that stuff is still spinning around in my head, but in the short term, the good news is we got a member of the Board of Education to say, yes, I agree, something better needs to be done with that hill. Let me make a phone call. And that phone call has finally set things in motion after months and months and months of no motion and basically, getting a bit stonewalled. So more to come on that. But, I'm glad to see something is finally happening there. Let's see, what else do I have from the board chair report? I want to send a big thank you out to Pizza Man. I got an email from a couple of teachers at Oakland Mills High School Sunday evening. The class of 22, the current junior class, was supposed to have a gelato truck fundraiser on the school premises this Thursday afternoon. I think because of the lingering COVID restrictions, the central office came back and said, you can't have a food truck at the school parking lot. So they contacted me and they contacted Sandy and they said, what the heck do we do now? So Sandy laid out some options. And, Sandy and I both thought Pizza Man, they helped out in the fall. So I went over to Pizza Man last night. I popped in, I talked to the manager. I said, look, this is the situation. He didn't even let me finish the sentence. He's like, just send the truck here. So Pizza Man will now be hosting the Gelato Truck fundraiser in their parking lot this Thursday. I believe it's from 3:30 to 6:30. So it's just, you know, it's fantastic to have businesses in the community that really want to support the community, because I mean, they're just, you know, they're doing this out of the kindness of the heart. Obviously, there might be something to gain, because if you show up for your gelato, you might smell some pizza and wander in there, but they didn't even care about that. They didn't even let me finish the sentence. They just said, yeah, send the truck over here. You can use our parking lot. So I just want to, you know, go on the record and say thank you to Pizza Man for allowing the junior class at Oakland Mills to continue on with their fundraiser, because, you know, this has been one of those years where fundraising is just hard without everyone in the buildings. And, you know, I mean, we all know what all the struggles are. So I was very happy to see that. The only other thing I want to comment on, unfortunately, this is a situation that happened in neighboring villages. It didn't happen in Oakland Mills, but I feel it still has to be acknowledged. Unfortunately, as probably everyone knows, this is the first anniversary of George Floyd's murder, and unfortunately, over in Wild Lake and Harper's Choice, someone or some group decided to deface a lot of signs, a lot of county signs, as well as signs at, you know, private signs at the entrances to apartment complexes, and at least one of the Harper's Choice Village signs, you know, like the entry signs we have here, with, well, I'm not going to repeat it. Let's just say it's terribly racist language. So, you know, it's just atrocious that these things are still happening in this day and age, but they are happening. And if you weren't aware, I wanted to make you aware, and, you know, just acknowledge the atrocity of what happened at some point overnight or early today over in Wild Lake or Harper's Choice. The good news is that the police and the county executive's office were very quick to respond and start cleaning things up. I believe at one point a responding officer was taking it upon himself to basically, you know, start peeling things off the signs he was seeing and doing his best to clean it up before other work crews could get out there. And I believe the Harper's Choice Village manager has open space right on fixing the Harper's Choice sign, because I think something was actually etched into their sign. I don't think they even had the decency to put a sticker on that could be pulled off like they did with some of the other signs. So just, you know, not a good situation. Not fortunately, it didn't happen in Oakland Mills. Unfortunately, it happened very close to Oakland Mills, and I'm sure a lot of people in Oakland Mills are aware of it and hurt by it, as I am. So I wanted to acknowledge that, and, you know, we can do better. That's all I can really say about it. It's very sad.
Huh. I'm looking at the crime report. I'm surprised they didn't put it in there.
Yeah, I don't know how they select what goes in the crime report, but it happened.
That's terrible.
And the police did respond. I know that much. Maybe it'll go in the crime report they publish tomorrow. I don't know. All right. Unless there are any questions for me, I believe that's all I have. All right, I'm going to send it over to Ginny.
Thank you, Jonathan. Just two things regarding the CA board. One, I'd like to get actually feedback from the board members and maybe from some residents as to what you would think about CA finance staff getting all the village boards together and doing sort of a 101 on CA financing, so that you really learn in depth what exactly is involved. And it'd be videoed, so if you're not there, you can watch it at another time, or if it was such an exciting presentation, you want to watch it again and again and again. And there would be time for questions and answers. So would anybody be interested in that?
I think that would be wonderful.
One member. Okay, thank you very much. All right. We'll move on. We'll get you more specific on that, and it would be for all the boards at once because this is quite an undertaking.
Ginny?
I am encouraging that it be expanded to residents that want to attend. I know that can be somewhat unmanageable in terms of question and answers, but let's see how we can design that. The other thing regarding the budget that some of the board feel strongly about is having a couple. Okay, setting the dogs out there. Having some virtual town hall meetings. Breakout rooms on specific topics. So we're working on that, at least one or two during the budget session, so that we learn more what residents want, et cetera. The third thing is, I think I asked you this the last time, but if you could get to me what you feel are the top 3, 4 issues, concerns that you really want CA to work on, possibly setting up an ad hoc task force, but particular issues, I'd really appreciate that. We've got to make that decision soon. And the fourth thing, I don't know if Paul Verchinsky is still on here, but he mentioned this before about the Howard County by Design updates, the Newtown virtual charrettes. They started already. I attended one in May. They're going to be every month. And we need to take these seriously. We'll be getting a briefing from our staff point of view this Thursday. But basically, just a quick overview. The county's calling it PETS, P-E-T-S, and that's preserve, enhance, transform, and strengthen geographic areas. When they talk about preserve, and I'll get through this rather quickly, but that means what areas of Columbia should be maintained, preserved, or safeguarded to protect open space, natural areas, and rural viewsheds. So that would be under preserve. Enhance, what existing developed areas of Columbia should be enhanced with small to medium improvements to keep up with the changing economics, technologies, consumer preferences, or age-related wear and tear. And transform is what areas of Columbia should be completely reimagined, redeveloped, with an energized activity like new employment centers, regional shopping centers, and entertainment areas. For example, Gateway is one of the areas they talk about when they say that could be a transformed area. Parks is an example of when they say it could be preserved. Strengthen, what areas of Columbia already have positive momentum but may benefit from some additional support. And we're being asked basically, and anybody can attend this, by the way, to really talk more about where you think in the county you can either preserve, enhance, transform, or strengthen. And then in August, they will be coming back with specific designs, like using Gateway as an example, or Snowden, Broken Land Parkway, whatever, where they think there should be perhaps more transformation. They will actually be coming in with designs for these different areas that you can react to. So it's a very intense process, and it's going to be over before you realize it. So it's something that we want to make sure the CA board is actively involved in. And we'll be getting a presentation at every board meeting, plus I don't know how many of us, but I certainly will be on the virtual meetings for every one of these with the county. I think that about covers everything right now. Oh, and I understand Lakey, our new CEO president, came out to the plant sale. Unfortunately, I had just left. I'd been there for a couple of hours, but I left. Sandy, you met her. She met the staff. And she was just telling us about it. So that was good that she's getting around.
And of course, this happened. I left for 10 minutes. I left
Yeah,
for
I know
10
you were, because I was
minutes.
at the front door.
Yeah. Well, we had a retreat that day, that Saturday from 1 to 4. So I left I got there 8:45. I left about 11. I don't know exactly what time she came, but she wasn't
Well,
going
she had a great greeting group of myself and Amy and Rena. And
That's all you
Brigida.
needed. That's all
That's
you
Yeah.
what
need,
we did.
right?
It's very
Yeah.
nice.
And
I had to take my 10-year-old home because we ran the Girls on the Run 5K together that morning, and her almost 47-year-old father was fine to work the plant sale, but she was just exhausted and couldn't stay a moment longer.
oh, well, actually, they were lined up at 8:45, right, Sandy?
Always.
Getting building there, and I don't think there was much left by the time.
No,
they
just
got there.
a smattering.
Yeah,
smittering,
I got to
smattering.
get there early. And the yards on the live, I think Rebecca's going to talk more about that, but they did an absolutely phenomenal job. And we gave away a lot of plants that one of the people did cuttings and actually potted them and gave them away as part of a raffle. So the staff did a great job. Thank you. If any questions or any concerns, anything else you want to know about? There may be some news on one of our projects. I think I can tell you it's the Haven, but when we can't explain what it is at this point until everything's signed off. So that's about it. Anything you guys got?
I like how you leave us with a cliffhanger.
But I gave you a parachute with it, or
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
North
Ginny.
Carolina, it's sand dunes, right? Jump off it.
Thanks, Ginny. Okay, Sandy.
Okay, again, thank everyone for the plant sale. A huge thanks to Brigida because she organizes everything, and to make something happen and look effortlessly, there's a lot of effort behind the scenes that she put in. And so it was fun. It was just great to be back at the other barn. Everyone was, wearing a mask and social distancing, just happy to be there. So it was a great day. And next year we've already picked it out. You might not like the date, but it's going to be this only date that we had available is a Saturday of Mother's Day weekend. But I think that we'll have little giveaways for mom and stuff like that. So we decided not to coincide with elections because it's just too early to plant, like the third week in April. And we're doing it separate next year, but we've already picked the date. So it was really a lot of fun. In 2 weeks, we have June 5th, our shredding, free to Oakland Mills residents. And we pay for the shred truck, which is about $500. So it's, it costs the village money. We do it once a year. And also the police, in coordination with the shredding, are doing a VIN etching so people can bring their car registration and get all of the glass on their car etched with their serial number. And it's a way that helps the police if cars are stolen. So that is happening in 2 weeks. CA is going to give us a new dumpster area. If anyone's walked out the kitchen door, we've had a dumpster in disrepair for years, and I've asked for years. And finally, it's to the point where this disgusting gate doesn't even open. So someone came out today, and they're going to build what, instead of a 4x4 little dumpster that's supposed to have trash for crowds of 200, they're going to do a 4x10 foot long, and it'll sit right along the backside of the building by the kitchen. And it'll be enclosed with a nice white PVC fence that's 5 feet high and a gate. And they're going to pour a cement slab. Right now it's sitting on dirt, which is just disgusting. So I basically described it as I wanted a dumpster just like Dorsey Search. Because it burns me up when I go to all these villages and they have nicer dumpsters. So we're going to have a nice dumpster area.
Rephrase that. You want a dumpster just like Dorsey Search
Right.
had, not a dumpster
Right.
just like Dorsey Search. We're not
Whatever.
calling Dorsey Search a dumpster.
A dumpster. So that was my exciting news today. Little things. And that's about it. People are renting. We have a wedding this weekend. We have, I think, 5 events in June. So we're able to bring our rental staff back to do the parties. And we're interviewing for covenant advisors. So that'll be the cliffhanger I leave you all with.
Sandy, what time is the activities on June 5th?
The shredding, I think it's all like from the shredding's 9 to 11. We'll put out a flyer this week or next. And the vid inching is probably like 9 to noon or something. It'll all go out soon. It's gone out already, but it'll go out again. That's all I have, I think.
All right. Thank you, Sandy.
Mhm.
All right. We have multiple committee reports tonight. So we're going to start with Bill and Housing.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. 3 items here. HOCO by design, to couple on with what Ginny's been talking about. In May, HOCO by design had a couple public meetings and presentations, survey questions, and open statements from the residents. I think in the call I was on, there were about 60 people on it. And it was all about Columbia. And there were 2 meetings in May. There will be meetings in June where the staff, I think, is going to present some draft ideas on Columbia. And then in August, some plans for Columbia. And in the May one, that I put in, as you know, many comments besides just the straight survey responses. And there was one I think was very worthwhile noting. One of them I wrote in the comments: no concentration of apartments leads to high farm rates in the schools. All residential redevelopment must move the affected elementary school farm rate toward the county average. Now that's what I wrote in. And Amy Gowan, who's head of planning and zoning, was in the meeting, and she would, each time a survey question was done, she would go through and read some of the comments that people had written into the chat. Well, she read mine, which I thought was really, really good, because I had heard that the county's concerned about farm rates and getting too heavily into dealing with farm rates. Okay, so to have the head of planning and zoning say that one out loud, because the people don't see it on the screen, she did, and she called it out loud. I thought that was excellent. And so I think with HOCO by design, as we go through that in June, in August, I strongly suggest that we all sign up for those sessions. And then at some point, we as a board might want to take some positions. I think my personal opinion is, I think it might be important to take positions. So I think it'd be important for all of us to do our homework on HOCO by design. And then the Howard County, the Housing Opportunities Master Plan is out last Tuesday. We had a press conference with Calvin, and I was one of the many speakers at it. It was excellent that it's done. It is on the county website, Housing and Community Development. You've gotten the link for that. It's a long publication. I think it's 40 pages, 80 recommendations. There's a set of appendices that are not out yet, and I'm going to work to get those online, because Appendix B is where the meat of it all comes together. The 80 recommendations spread out over 40 pages is difficult reading. And a few just the highlights of what is in the master plan. We're going to amend recommendations, all recommendations, amend zoning regulations and land use plans to provide more flexibility in housing types allowed in more areas of the county to continue this initiative from Plan Howard 2030. The second one, explore strategic limited expansion of the water and sewer district to provide more land for affordable housing development, including mixed use and mixed income. And another one is create a county housing trust fund in order to expand the number of affordable rental and home ownership units serving persons and families earning below 60% of the area median income, including older adults and persons with disabilities, special needs, or facing homelessness. Amend MIHU regulations to limit the use of fee in lieu to provide more MIHUs on site, and when allowed, fee in lieu should go into the trust fund. Another one, and this one I think is two biggies. I think it'll be really good. Create a one-stop shop and information clearinghouse within the county to provide home improvement consulting for homeowners on financing options, design options, contractor negotiations, pre-approved contractor lists, county code, and inspections. and then create a one-stop shop and information clearinghouse within the county to support landlords and tenants with training on rental regulations, codes, legal matters, tenant screening services, landlord-tenant relations, and mediation and conflict resolution. And when we get into APFO, consider automatic exemptions from school-related moratoria for affordable housing in low poverty school districts, as well as market rate housing in high poverty school districts. And the farm rates are in there in Appendix A. The reference to the farm rates are in Appendix A in the master plan. Then I'll close here with two things that happened. One thing that happened from the master plan, the Housing Affordability Coalition, which has a lot of members, asked Peter Engel, the executive director of the Housing Commission, and me to do a presentation on housing issues. And I spoke as a private resident, okay? And in there, Peter's presentation and mine, which I did send out to the board and which Amy will include as handouts in the minutes to the meeting. So all residents on the call, when our minutes are published to this meeting, we'll be able to see those handouts. They'll be able to get the link to the master plan. It's on the Housing Community Development website. So Peter's main thrust of his presentation, he had several maps of the county. He showed where all the schools with high farm rates were and low farm rates were. He then showed a map where all the apartment complexes in the county are. And there's a high correlation between concentration of apartments and high farm rates in the schools. And then he showed more maps that we got from the Housing Task Force, which showed that your high concentration of different races correlate with high concentrations of the apartments, so that there is a racial impact with the concentration of apartments. Then my presentation continued on that vein, was looking at all of the schools in the county, the elementary, middle, and high school, their farm rates, and that it shows that most of the schools in the county with lower farm rates are west of 29, with few exceptions. And then most of the schools with high farm rates are east of 29, with just a few exceptions. That the 13 elementary schools with farm rates over 40% are Title I schools. 8 of those are in Columbia, 8 of the 13. That's, I think, 62% of all Title I schools are in Columbia. Columbia only has about 32% of the population of the county. So there's a real concentration in Columbia, and that the 13 elementary schools with very low farm rates, 10 of them have no apartments in their attendance areas. 2 have high-end apartments. 1 has a mix of apartments. 12 of the 13 schools with the highest farm rates have lots of different apartments. 1 has a trailer park. So that the focus then is this concentration of apartments is a major issue. I then went and looked at Talbot Springs Elementary School and the apartments concentrated around Talbot Springs Elementary School and showed it on the map, and then showed how some of those apartments are in the Thunder Hill attendance area, some are in the Talbot Springs Elementary attendance area, and some are in the Stevens Forest attendance area. And then showed a slide that shows the total Talbot Springs Elementary attendance area, and it's 3 non-contiguous areas, and that 2 of the areas that are further away from Talbot Springs Elementary are there to bring townhomes and single-family homes into the mix to try to mitigate the farm rate at Talbot Springs. And I said, if all of the residents near Talbot Springs went there, the students, the farm rate at Talbot Springs would be approximately 80% in that neighborhood. So that even with the creative redistricting done by the school system, the concentration of apartments is the major issue that must be dealt with. So those were the key items that Peter and I tackled in the presentation. As I said, those presentations will be available to all residents when we have the minutes from this meeting approved in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. If I can add just one thing, because I'm going to hijack the end of your committee report because it's housing related. At the last meeting, I told you about for the racial equity subgroup. We formed 3-person breakout groups, and I told you I was in a group with Phil Engelke and a Marriott's Ridge student, and we had come up with that zoning exclusion proposal, primarily for out west, outside of the public service area, that would, make zoning exclusions for more density and residential development within a certain radius of any existing or planned public works projects, so schools, government buildings, anything like that, as well as private commercial developments. The contractor for facilitating the task force reached out to us last week and asked if we wouldn't mind having Peter Engel working with us on really fleshing out that zoning proposal, using his expertise. So we obviously jumped at that opportunity. Phil is actually taking the lead in reaching out to Peter, but it sounds like there might be some legs to that as well, because obviously that could be a shorter term, not just a shorter term, but also a concurrent solution to expanding the PSA. If we can do things within the area not served by the PSA, because there's already some development around which we could have more density, then we want to pursue that as well. So I think all of this fits together very nicely. And as always, I thank Bill for his years and years and years of efforts on these issues. All right, the next committee we have up is Public Space, and Mr. Wortman.
Thank you. We met last Tuesday, and we decided to have first thing was a bike lane cleanup on June 12th at 2 p.m. So we're going to physically remove the gumballs, and mostly gumballs and leaves from the street, from the bike lane that day. So we're going to meet at the Thunder Hill Elementary School at 2, and I'll try to get safety vests from the county. Bring your brooms if you want to come. The other thing it came up at the meeting, which was kind of interesting, was one of our members, Jim Caffey, suggested a cul-de-sac beautification contest, which kind of goes along with what Rebecca has been talking about. And right now it's just an idea, but I thought I'd just let you know we're thinking about doing that, and more details will follow.
Can I just say something for this year? I thought about that, not knowing, I wasn't at your meeting. And some cul-de-sacs look beautiful now because they had irises that are beautiful that aren't going to look beautiful in 2 weeks. Some have taken a picture and sent it to me because there's rose bushes that are beautiful. So I think that part could be a little tough because not everything's going to look beautiful when the contest is going on. But the other thing I thought is, why can't we do a property beautification? Because that would really take people into their own yard to want to have it look good and take pride in their property, whereas the cul-de-sacs aren't all going to look good at the same time, or they're a work in progress. But for people to beautify their own properties, I think that would be something I'd suggest.
Okay, that's a good idea. And I know a couple properties that would be on my list.
I think people would really want to do that.
No, that's a good idea. I'll bring it up. I'll talk to them about that. I think Rebecca and Jim were thinking more a lot on the lines of non-invasives and, like butterfly gardens and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I was going to let them come up with what they want to do there. And but this is a good idea about the
I'd
property.
pass it along.
Yeah.
As they want to get it started this year, it's something that can happen regardless of whether you had funds for your cul-de-sac or not.
That's
Bill?
true. Yes.
just a quick add-on to that beautification is homes that have sidewalks out in front. Cut all your bushes and trees back from the sidewalk so people have full access through the sidewalk.
We can put that in the a newsletter, because I had something about mowing and cleaning the sidewalks, but we can talk about trimming trees. Is now the time to trim trees?
No, but it is for bushes. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's a regulation. I mean, it's
Uh-huh,
a covenant regulation.
uh-huh,
yeah,
A reminder in the newsletter along with mowing your grass.
uh-huh, okay,
yeah. There are a lot of bushes that
yeah,
impede impede the sidewalk for sure.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
okay.
That's a good point. Thank you, Bill. What else do we have? So we came up with 3 like long-term priorities that we'd work on over the year. The first one was pedestrian safety along Stevens Forest Road. The whole streetscape idea, we thought that was important, very important, and the safety of our residents is very important. So I think that's our number 1 priority. The next one is the unsightly hill, and thank you, Jonathan, for all your work on that. And we'll hope to, we'll stand ready and hope to help you out when we get things moving. And the last one is, I haven't brought this up in a while, but the Orchard Green, the path from Orchard Green to the light at Thunder Hill Road. And I want to reopen that and see if we can get that going again and see where we can go. I know that CA has limited funds, but we need a path to go there. And once we have that, we can get a crosswalk. And we might need to come up with some creative ways to do that, but I would like to figure out how to do that. And of course, the Colonial Pipeline is we have to cross that, and they've been in the news recently about other things. So, but they have said, I've talked to them about it. They have said they want to be good citizens and help out the community. So Jenny, what do you? I see your hand.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that the board, I know the board sent a letter to CA regarding Orchard Green maybe 2 years ago now, or 1.5 years. And we did have that as a priority. So I would just suggest the same letter go to CA now again. And I've been pushing for it. So if that's agreeable.
It's agreeable with me.
Yeah, it's
I-
really needed, and we were ready
Yeah.
to move, and you know what happened. So I think it's time to be trying to see if we can get that going, if possible, soon. If not, definitely in the next budget.
That would be great.
So I have to refresh my memory. I'm all for pursuing it again, and I realize some of this would be a CA open space path, but then it also crosses into other jurisdictions, including State Route 108. But was the idea that CA would basically do its part and then do the coordination with the county and the state for
Correct.
us? Okay,
Yes.
all right. I thought that's what it was, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, Sandy was at one of the first meetings with the state guys and the county, a good 2.5 years ago. So there's more moving pieces to it than just the path. The path is simply one of them, but
Okay.
it is essential. Yeah.
So at a recent Howard County Transportation meeting where they talked about 103, 108, and 104, the Orchard Green crosswalk was brought up and mentioned, and they're in support of that. Of course, the county doesn't really have to do anything. It's really the state and CA. So they don't really have any property. So, but they're pushing for it, and it's on their agenda. So And I think that's it for us.
I can find that letter and send it around or send it to Warren and you can then look at it and see if it says what you want it to say.
That sounds great.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, Warren.
You're welcome.
All right, and the last committee we have up is architecture. Lynn.
Yeah, we had, I think, one of our largest RAC meetings with the largest number of applications submitted. We had 20 applications and went through them all. We ended up having to table one of them, but the others are all approved, some with amendments that we worked out during the course of the meeting. So that was all great. In the month of May, this is just something that I know we worry about invasives and I worry about trees. And in the month of May, we approved having 19 trees taken down, and these are mature trees. And some of them, a minority of them were dead trees. The majority were not dead, but they were dropping leaves and branches and whatnot that people didn't like. And in the past 11 months, so we're not even up to a year, in the past 11 months, we've had applications, and these are just the people who applied to have trees taken down. We had applications and approved 86 trees taken down in 11 months. So that's a lot. We worry about a lot of things with the environment. We worry about the invasives. We worry about, the erosion. We worry about all of that, but the trees are really an important and significant part of that. So I'm going to be focusing on that in the coming years, to what we can do to offer alternatives. How can we, education programs, there are a number of ways that we can kind of think about this, where ways that we can encourage people to plant away from their houses if they're concerned about their houses. So that's the primary thing. The other thing that I just wanted to bring up now is that we have new board members, and we have recently elected board members, but we also have newer board members. And one of the primary responsibilities for all of us as board members is about the covenants. And so I want to encourage everybody, and even if you thought you knew them backwards and forwards a while back, it's always good to refresh your memories, that if you go on the Oakland Mills website, and it's not where you think it's going to be, where it says covenants, that's not where you're going to get it. You have to go to resources and documents and pull it down. And so the two things to look for, one is the covenants themselves, which is the legally binding document. The other is architecture guidelines, and that's what we use in the RAC meeting as we're reviewing applications, or that's what Carrie or Karina have used in looking at violations, as complaints about violations. We look at the guidelines and then see, well, is there a basis in the covenants for them? So the guidelines grew out of the covenants, which are a little more general. The guidelines get really down to the nitty gritty. But with us, when you look at the covenants, it's really Articles 6, 7, and 8 that really are the meat of it, as far as what maintenance and changes and property related things are as far as the covenants go. So I'd like everybody to take the time. Just it's not exciting reading, but it's when we have people come to us and say, oh, Oakland Mills, they tell me that I have to paint my door purple and I can't have it be the nice green that I want. It's good to have some familiarity with it, recent familiarity, that you can say, hey, it's not that bad. It's really, the architecture guidelines are there to help all of us. And it's more to give you a guideline as to what to do rather than things that we're forbidding you to do. So that's my little spiel for that.
Lynn, can I make a suggestion, and then you and Sandy can kill me if this is the worst possible time while we're trying to hire a new covenant advisor. But it feels to me like the board is overdue for architecture and covenant training. We used to have that annually.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Totally agree. And I think that once we are fully staffed with our as far as our covenant advisors go, that's the time to institute that and plan that in the
Okay.
future, and
All right.
open it to the public as well, to
And then
all
one
residents.
question for you, and then I'll call on Ginny. So you have the number of trees that we've approved to be taken down. Do you have a rough estimate of like what percentage of those have been approved contingent upon planting a replacement tree? Like what is the net?
The net, it's hard to say. I mean, what we do is if the property, all of our properties are supposed to have, for single family homes, they're supposed to have one tree, at least one tree in the front yard and 2 trees in the backyard. So every residential single family home should have 3 trees. For townhouses, it's a little bit different because of space, space considerations. But when that's not the case, we always make it contingent on replanting. However, we don't have anybody who goes out a year later to see if they really have replanted. So that's kind of so I don't know what the net is the
Okay.
the
I would
answer.
feel like it's probably 75% you're asking them to replant. The 25% is there were so many trees on the lot. There's certain areas of Thunder Hill, Kilimanjaro Road, where they are maybe taking out 5, but they have 15 that remain. So
We had one right
Yeah.
on Kilimanjaro just in
yeah, so I mean,
Thursday. So it's not, that said, that's really absolutely true that some of them are already pretty wooded lots. However, if you drive around Oakland Mills, you'll see a number of properties where there is not one tree that they have pretty much cleared.
well, there's a house on Thunder Hill Road where I don't remember ever seeing that. Karina's already been in correspondence. I mean, 3 humongous trees gone.
Yeah.
So if you see any houses where it's like they've taken down some big trees and left some stumps, you can by all means let us know, because we're not catching all of them. And we also don't go out and stop a tree in process from being taken down, but it's good to know that it happened so we can
Right.
follow up.
Right.
Sorry, Ginny.
Yeah, Lynn, you mentioned something, and I don't know how you deal with it, but one of the problems seems to be that where somebody or the developer planted a tree and it's now digging up the concrete. And sometimes I've heard cases of where it's getting into the foundation. So they're desperate to get the tree taken down.
And they can apply and get it approved to be taken down.
Oh, no, I know that. I refer them to, but my point is that it's almost like the tree has to go.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
sad because how do you educate people in advance, or a builder? My God, do not put a tree there. Yes, it's a teeny little thing, but it will be 20 years from now,
Mhm.
destroying the driveway, destroying the foundation. It's, how can we prevent that? I don't know if there's an answer to that.
Well, and also by the time the tree is really a problem, I mean, we're talking about trees that were planted in the 70s and 80s. So, I mean, going forward, I think people, we can put that into the quotient when we're having any kind of an education program. But I think people are aware of that now. People are not planting potential forest giants right up against their foundations anymore. I think that when the builders came in, unfortunately, that they want it to look pretty, they want the house to sell, and so they put trees in, not thinking, what is this going to be like 50 years from now?
Well, I think it was also a lot of the area like ours was farmland.
Mm-hmm.
There were no trees.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. They put it closer to the house. It looks better than in the backyard.
Exactly. We have a big maple tree right, that's not doing very well. That's about 10 feet from our foundation.
Yep.
So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Well, that brings us to the end with the bulletin board. So I'll start with Amy. Anything from the office? All right, Sandy? Were you saying something, Sandy?
No, I said,
Oh, okay. All right. Ginny?
No, thank you.
Okay. Rena?
Yeah, I was wondering, was there a formal liaison for the Safety and Security Committee?
you.
already chairing that?
You are.
I know, but is it something, was it anything before or just is
Oh,
new?
yes.
Judy
In fact, she's
Godsagan.
here. She's here tonight.
She's here. If you want to talk or say anything, Judy, are you listening?
I would just like to get with her so I can see what was
Okay,
already
here
done.
she is.
Yep, I'm listening. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes,
Yes.
hi, can Sandy give you my information and you
Yep.
and I get together?
Yes.
Okay, great, okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Judy.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you, Judy.
Sure.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Rena. Warren?
Nothing else.
Okay, Lynn?
Nothing, just congratulations to Sandy and everybody involved in the plant sale. I heard it was a great event.
I'm on Zoom.
Yes. All right, Bill?
Jonathan, I'd
Almost
like
finished, though.
to share a couple pictures if I can. To do so, do I hit share screen first and then find and bring up the photograph?
I'll make you a
Yes.
co-host.
Okay.
No, you don't need to. I gave him sharing ability already as he was saying that.
Well, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
This is one thing to imagine. Oakland Mills on the hillside, and there's another one. Just for thoughts, beautiful of what the
Yes.
hillside could be. I have given those photos to Warren, okay? And I kind of think OAKL, et cetera, spelled out on that hillside. I think we have an incredible opportunity to do something very iconic in Columbia and the county that will stand out. I don't really want just another nice hillside that you see many other places, personal opinion. We could do something that could be a tremendous, iconic, welcoming hillside to the village center, to the high school, et cetera. So that's just my 2 cents. Thanks. How do I get
That's
out
cool.
of that? I got to kill this.
Stop
Yeah.
share. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
I think it's great. Warren and I were talking about that earlier, and I think, I mean, as long as everyone can put their heads together and find a way of meeting the the environmental requirements, and mitigating the erosion and the runoff, I think that would look great. However, I actually think, I guess I shouldn't say this in an open meeting that's being recorded, but I think we should pull a fast one. I think we should tell everyone the plan is for it to say Oakland Mills, and then have our volunteers spell out renovate now,
Yes.
and leave them stuck with that until they obey the command. And then once they do that, we'll change it to Oakland Mills.
Do not
Got
defer
both my
maintenance.
votes.
Yeah. All right. I was just going to say what Lynn has already said. A big thanks to Sandy and Brigida and everyone, and Amy was there, and our board volunteers for a successful plant sale. And Sandy, I know I've been in the other barn a few times since all the upgrades, but to see it with people inside, everything looked great. So I'm hoping this is truly the beginning of the end of us not being able to have nice community events like that. Everyone, while I was there, followed the rules. We didn't have to tell a single person to put your mask on before you come in the door or anything. So I hope this is just the start of us getting back to those great community events that you and Brigida and others have always put on. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. And with that, I can say that we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Jonathan and Lynn.